Welcome to Only a Movie. In this episode, we're going to be talking about The Big Sick. Was Robert McKee right when he claimed that a culture cannot evolve without honest, powerful storytelling? Was poet Carl Sandburg onto something when he claimed that Hollywood is the foremost educational institution on Earth? Can movies today transcend mere entertainment and help us make sense of life? This is our attempt to look at movies and how they succeed or fail at fulfilling the human longing for meaning. Or something like that. Joining me this episode are Penny Crosby and Trevor Duke. And Shane, apparently, my dog.
Hey, buddy.
He didn't see the movie, so he's probably not going to offer any opinion about it. Just a heads up, there will be spoilers as we will be discussing the whole movie. So if you haven't seen The Big Sick yet and you want to wait and see the movie first, you're always welcome to come back and check this out later.
The whole movie is about Kumail and his relationship with Emily. Particularly, she's in a coma shortly after the two of them break up. And the reason why they break up is because Kumail isn't really sure how he could see a future with her based on his Pakistani culture. His mom and his family in general are very adamant about him marrying a Muslim Pakistani woman, even though that's not really what he may want. So it's about his internal struggle with his love for Emily, but also his love for his family. And I just found it to be a very fascinating approach to a very current topic and a very real topic, as well as approaching it with honesty and with humor as well. So I was really excited to see it, and as soon as I saw the trailer, I knew that it would be right down my alley, and I assumed that these two would also really enjoy it as well.
We ended up, for this one, we didn't end up going together. We each kind of sort of scattered out and did our thing. I took my wife to see the movie. It's a good date movie.
I took my roommate, but that was that, I mean, it was a bro date, I guess.
Since we dropping names, I took Melissa Sanjay.
Yeah.
So we had a real date, a bro date, and a girl date.
Yeah.
We covered all our bases.
Which are usually all
full
my
gamut.
dates. Yes.
It feels relevant and current in a lot of ways. Whether or not you're Muslim, Pakistani guy or not, I think a lot of people can relate to that reality of the world is changing really fast, and relationships are scary. We live in this sort of very transient, very fast-paced culture, and it sometimes feel very hard to want to commit and want to dive in, whether you're talking about romantic relationships or just opening up to like real friendship that is more than just superficial friendship that's, hey, let's hang out and have fun together, but like, hey, here's like here are my fears, here are my vulnerabilities, my struggles. So I was definitely really engaged in the movie, really engaged in the story.
I too saw like all of the weak aspects of their relationship, and that grew into stronger feelings for each other from the time that they met until the time that they got back together at the very end. There were things like the in the hospital when they wanted him to sign.
Right. Yeah.
This is like,
Ask you again,
yeah.
Are you her husband?
Yeah. And things, just little things like that probably to him was like, oh, wait a minute, this is really deep. That I could be her husband. This, other than what my parents are looking for me to do. It also put into perspective being a parent. Mm-hmm. That you cannot have your child do what you want them to do. You can't live your life for your children. You have to let them live their own life. No matter if they're going to marry somebody that is from America or someone that is from China, you can't stop that thing from happening. Right. And especially when it's so strong that you just totally break out and be like, yo, this is who I'm marrying. This is who I love. And I really hate that you guys feel this way, but too bad, so sad. And guess what? I'm still in this family, whether you're kicking me out or not.
That's one of the best moments.
Yes. Here's some cue cards. When the dad gave him the food that his mother cooked,
right?
Like, she wasn't getting out the car, but that food means more than anybody's hug to a young man who's traveling down the road with extra potatoes.
This is actually based on a true story about his relationship with his current wife, who is Emily. Mm-hmm. I was reading up on this, and they had a very small wedding, and I think they just did more of a legal type marriage. Mm-hmm. Despite the Pakistani culture, which is truly arranged marriages, that's really something that does happen. Mm-hmm. the mother threw a true Pakistani style wedding for
yeah.
her, because it was her way of trying to welcome her into the family. So we see that based on, like you're talking about, like giving him the meal. Like you really see, even in real life, she's really trying to embrace not only Camille's decision, but say, yes, we want you to be part of this family. So I thought that was really nice.
So let me ask you this question: Did you not stay for the credits?
Well, that was, you just see that picture, but
Okay, I'm just
you don't
making
really
sure.
know.
I'm making sure you ain't breaking our code. That's all.
That picture doesn't really tell you.
I know. For me, the picture told me that, but
Well, it didn't tell you everything.
It didn't tell you.
Yeah.
No. I'm just making sure you didn't break the code, Trebs.
Well, I didn't get to say for all their credits because I was with my roommate and he doesn't do that.
Adrian,
that was rude.
Adrian, he threw you under the bus.
I did. What I really liked about the movie was the internal struggle that Camille faces in the film. Maybe it's more of a paraphrase. I don't know if I'm quoting her exactly, but Brene Brown, and if you guys haven't heard of her, she has a really great TED Talk that I'd recommend checking out. But one of the things she was saying was, if you try to numb the bad feelings, you numb all the feelings. And honestly, if you look at Camille, yes, like their relationship was great, and you see the honeymoon phase and everything's going great. But when they break up, he wasn't really that heartbroken because he didn't feel like that could ever actually work out. So he was definitely
this was coming eventually.
Yeah.
He was trying to hold on as long as possible, but he knew like this ends eventually because
and
I'll just
how can
go
it not?
to the next girl, and I'll just write her name down in my fancy Pakistani handwriting.
yeah, exactly. And so what was fascinating was, as you see her go into this coma, it puts things into a real life situation. And he ends up signing the papers as if he were her husband. He ends up getting involved with the family and hosting them at his place a couple of nights. He's there for every decision, and all of a sudden that wall that he built up, that he was blocking to actually feel something deeper than just the honeymoon phase, like to really deeply connect and say, I think I could love this woman. You see that break down. And when you see that break down, you see other things break down. You see his fear to tell his parents surface.
Yeah.
Before he just acted like, I don't care. Like they're crazy, but I'll do what I want. And you almost think like he's like, eventually there'll be someone that he will tolerate as like an arranged marriage, and that's what he's going to go for. And he had that mentality until he just basically broke down that wall. He stopped trying to numb that feeling, and all of a sudden everything flooded in. And you see it in that conversation when he confesses to his mom about not really being sure if he is a Muslim, not being not agreeing with the culture of being in an arranged marriage, and struggling with this, and how hard that was for him, because it wasn't that he was just being honest with himself. It's like, I have to be honest with you guys because I love you guys. And you can tell that it scared him because he knew that he risked losing that family.
I relate a lot to the journey of the various characters, I think, in a lot of ways, not because of necessarily of the specifics, because I feel like, oh yeah, that's my life, but I relate to just how each character has a growth, or almost each character has a lot of growth, a lot of character arc, and I think that is a testament to it being based on real material, or on a true story. So I relate with the story, but not necessarily always like on all the little specifics, but I just love that, observing the journey of these characters from a lot of guardedness to vulnerability to the place of saying, no, I value this and I'm going to fight for it. Whether it is Kamal valuing Emily and wanting to then like invest and be there even when she's like, wait, what? You know, she wakes up in a coma. We broke up. Like, what's the deal? He values investing even though he respects her choices to be like, I'm not there. That's not where I'm at. You clearly had this experience. I didn't. I was out of it. He values his family, as you were saying, and says, no, our culture may say that this is what's supposed to happen, but I'm saying there's another way. There's another choice. There's another option. Because he's kind of a passive character through a lot of it, you know, which is a risky thing in storytelling. And when you have a really passive character through a lot of the story, a lot of things are just happening to the character. You usually get more invested in characters that are making active choices. Yeah. But it works because he eventually comes to this place where he becomes a very active character in the choices that he's making. And his choice to be vulnerable, to invest, and even just the way, the connection that forms there with his eventual in-laws, I think is a really charming story, a really meaningful story. There's transformation in those relationships that we get to witness as well. You've got a relationship that's struggling. It's a very young relationship, and then you've got a relationship that's struggling, that's been going on for decades. And it shows the reality of, it doesn't matter whatever point you're at, relationships always take investment and always take a willingness to be vulnerable and to dive back in and to work at it. It's really difficult to do in movies, in romantic movies, to get that across. It's much easier to aim for the mushy, you know, feel-good stuff, and then they get together in the end, and you know, you kind of had this implied or even literal, they live happily ever after. But the reality is, it always takes continued investment every day. Every day is a choice to be in or out of relationship with people, whether you're talking romantic relationship or not. Here's a story that captures that pretty well, that shows that with the juxtaposition of what's going on with Camille and Emily and what's going on with Emily's parents and their story, sort of their journey, that you get some hints, and then you get some a little deeper insight into. It's not the main focus of the story, but really the fact that subplot is there and juxtaposed against what's going on with Camille, I think it really speaks to what the movie has to offer in terms of its broader picture of what relationships are like and the continued investment they require.
I see that every character in the movie had their time to, as Michael Jackson would say, have their time to shine. You know, it wasn't just focused on one person. It moved across the whole circle that he was involved in, and each of them got to have their strong points, like the mom inside of the comedy show, Emily's mother. Yeah. When
too funny.
Yeah, when the kid said, "Oh, go back to ISIS."
Yeah.
She's like, "What did you just say?" And he's trying to move on to his next joke. You know, he's like, he takes it. Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you.
It's probably not the first time.
Have toast, and then the mother's like, "What did you just say?" And then all of a sudden, you know, she just
it becomes a scene.
She had all that emotion built up from her daughter being in the hospital, and then she goes to this show, and this dude just set her off, and that kind of reminds me of myself.
At that point, she didn't even like him because he broke her daughter's heart.
This is true.
So when she all of a sudden is up there defending him, it really shows the character that she has. Like,
I know a person who went through something similar to what Kamal and his parents went through, with them not wanting him to marry anybody outside of their culture. And so that part stood out to me. You know, it's a very close person to me. And, like, in the end, her parents love him. So it just all washes out, you know, kind of in the end. But you have to go through all of that stuff just to get to that point where you realize that you can't control kids and how they feel about each other. You get people that become rebellious. And the good thing about Camille is that he didn't get rebellious. He didn't start doing things that his family would hate even more. Right. He went to them and was like, "Listen, I don't care what you all say. Y'all don't have to talk to me. Oh, where's my plate? Oh, here's some cue cards. If you don't want to talk, here's, oh, hi, how are you? You know, oh, your Camille is much more better looking than our other son." You know, things like that. And that's probably, like, his sense of humor is probably what broke the family. Yeah. But you could already tell his dad was, like, already cool. You could tell he's a softie for his son. So.
Right, yeah.
We'll never see each other again, but when you get to New York, make sure you text me.
Right.
So,
It's like, you're not really out of the family.
Right. But I think It's interesting because I think, I mean, they're touching on a subject that is very real, and it's not just for people for that culture. I mean, you see it in different families, like you're talking about how you know somebody, not necessarily in that culture, but just in a similar situation where their culture or maybe their religion has a certain expectation. And I almost, I'm trying to picture from the parents' perspective,
Yeah.
which is they're so deeply set in this culture and this understanding, and and they care so much for their child, and if their child doesn't follow the same understanding that they do, I mean, I imagine there's probably fear, hurt, guilt. I'm sure the parents are like, "What did I do wrong?" And that's a lot to take in as a parent, I bet.
Not only that, but like embarrassment from their own family.
Yeah.
Who
Right, yeah.
marries.
Because you hear them talking about
Yeah.
some other people, like,
Yeah.
oh, that child, like,
They don't even speak to them anymore. That kind of thing.
When you're overthrown with that much emotion, that much negative emotion, your reaction is anger, because with anger you feel that you have a sense of control. And so that's why you would see her mom react that way. That's why you see in real life parents maybe act that way.
Yeah.
But then you also see the truth of the matter, which is, I'm going to make you a going away meal with extra potatoes.
Yeah.
The way you like it.
The way you
like
like it.
I know you like it. Yeah.
And you're not part of the family, but please text us when you arrive. We want to know you got there safely.
Right.
So you see this dichotomy happening. How do you not agree with the way I think, but no, you're still my son, and I still love you, and you see that struggle. So I think they're able to touch on a pretty heavy, real topic, an honest way that wasn't forcing an agenda.
Right, it's disarming in a lot of ways. I think the humor helps with that a lot. There's a certain level of openness and vulnerability that's possible. My theater professor in college, he always had this philosophy that, if they laugh with you, they'll cry with you. The humor really helps unlock our hearts as an audience, in a lot of ways, so that we can experience those things. And I think what you're saying there too, the reality that I think is underlying all of these big changes, especially for Kamal and his family, is with culture comes identity for a lot of us, and whether we recognize, I think for everybody to a greater extent for some than others, but I really believe that culture brings a lot of our identity. And so there's this sense in which to go against your cultural norms and expectations is to have an identity crisis.
Yeah.
And so it is something that is going to be very tumultuous and very difficult to go through for everybody, because everybody is suddenly, whether they really think about it or not, they're going, whoa, who am I? Who am I in this situation? This is not who I thought I was. This is not the life I thought I was going to be living. Then there has to be a reevaluation of what are my values? What do I actually care about? What's my identity in all of this? Is my identity, I'm a father, I'm a mother, and this is my child and I love them no matter what? Or is my identity what my culture expects of me? And while we don't necessarily have a culture that has arranged marriage and sort of those kinds of expectations, there are many other ways in which American culture dictates in a lot of ways our identities and expectations on us. Me as a stay-at-home dad, even though it's becoming more and more a reality and more accepted, there's still a lot of ways in which it's like, whoa, wait, who am I in the middle of that? What's my identity and what's my cultural expectation around that? But you have to take that stuff for yourself and say, well, who am I in this crisis or in this situation, in this journey? And so you see that, I think, happening with Kamal's parents. And that, again, that's why I've never lived the specifics of their life, but I think the beauty of storytelling is that in the specifics, we discover universal ideas.
whatever happened to Emily, the sickness that they couldn't figure out needed to happen to her for these relationships to come together, because that's how they're supposed to be.
It seems like a reality of life in general, right? At some point or another, crisis is going to find us in one capacity or another, right? The choice then becomes, do you stay in the mess? Do you sit in the tension for however long it takes to work things out? Or do you just, nope, I'm out? It can be tempting and easy to sort of say, I got to take the road out, you know, and the ironic thing is there's not a story in that, you know, there's only, you know, stories exist because there's conflict and tension in the story, and that's actually why we're invested in stories, why we want to see how they work out, because we want to see how this stuff is resolved. And yet, human tendency is to want to go, I'm out. Like, hey, let me, you know, let me just, right, yeah. That's, I think, the benefit of seeing a story like this and being reminded that sitting in the tension, sitting in the difficult situations, navigating crisis is just part of life. I've been doing a lot of reading lately about some of these topics, even just the idea of like how much we try to avoid pain, how much we try to avoid crisis, and we try to just sort of live one high to the next, but that's just not a sustainable life. The reality is the much more meaningful and sustainable and joyful life is picking, okay, what are the kinds of problems that I want to have?
Right.
You know, what are problems that I think would be meaningful problems to have? And sometimes that means working out a relationship because it's more meaningful to have this relationship than to not have it. So I'm going to be willing to deal with whatever the problems are that are in this relationship rather than go figure out the problems of not being in relationship with these people.
Did you guys feel crushed when he shows up at the birthday party and he shows her the gift and she shuts him down? Yeah. Oh my gosh, that killed me because like that gift was just, I mean, it was real. Like that, I get the scene and I love the scene, but oh my gosh, it killed me because it was very thoughtful. This is the first time that he's, like we were talking about, like that he's really opening up, right? He's really saying, I want this, and I know that this is what I want, and I'm taking this risk.
He's being active. He's being very proactive in that, and vulnerable, right? Because it's...
And she says...
possibility of rejection is very real.
And she says no. And for real reasons. She just, I mean, she just got out of the coma. And he's gone through this experience. She hasn't. She's still hurt. Because I know that for myself, I put walls up for a long time, and you know, it's something that you, when you do it for so long, it's something you constantly, you know, struggle with. But I realize how valuable it is to let those walls down, even if it doesn't work out, because you're being true to yourself. And you know, if it doesn't work out, at least you were true to yourself. And if it does work out, it is so much more valuable. But when you see somebody taking that risk for the first time and it fails, it just fills me with anxiety. I'm like, oh my gosh, is he just gonna just completely shut down? Is he never gonna try again? Is this gonna be one of those things where he chooses to redeem himself and be like, I want to take this risk and be vulnerable, and then it backfires and he goes, you know what, screw it, I'm going back to the way things were. And that's all. I was just in a whirlwind of emotions.
I was not, because I'm mean. So
yes,
he deserved what he got. Because in her mind, when you think of it, she was in a coma. The last thing she remembers is breaking up with him.
Yeah.
And to her, that seemed like yesterday, even though it might have been a couple of weeks ago. You know, and it took me to get to this point, to get in a coma, for you to come up in here with this stuff, with your bag of tricks. No, brother, get out of here. So no, I don't feel sorry for him.
I do.
And I didn't think that he was going to not continue to pursue her, because throughout the whole movie, he had, every time she shut him down, he was there, you know, to say, oh no, you don't really feel that way. You know?
It's cold.
It's cold out here.
Right. It's interesting what you bring up there in that moment, that he comes to the party and presents her that all these gifts, right? That sort of tell this narrative of this is what went on while you were in the coma, and these are the choices I'm making now. I've burned all those pictures for the potential arranged marriages. There is a sense in which, in the moment, you can look at that and you say, that was a failed attempt. And yet at the same time, stepping back and knowing how the story ends, no, it wasn't a failed attempt. Because I don't think they would have worked their stuff out unless he had made that gesture.
Well, there were other things too that brought her to that point, and that was like watching the YouTube of the bombed
Right.
with audition that he did. She saw that. That probably opened her eyes to the fact that he really does love her, and
right.
so he was planting seeds throughout the whole entire relationship. So she wasn't getting away from him, and I think he kind of knew it.
I don't think he did.
Fight.
No, it's not fight. I don't think he did. Because what I'm trying to get at is that whole moment has the nice lovey-dovey relationship piece, and it crushes you. But I think my argument is that even if they didn't get together in the end, that's not a failure, and it's all about how he sees it. In real life, you could do all that, and they can say no, and you could be crushed, and then you never get back together. But what do you do after that? If you open yourself up and you get hurt, your response is to defend, to protect yourself. So you're not going to open up again. Yeah. But that was the first time he opened up, and he discovered, wow, this is something I've been missing. Being vulnerable, allow myself to really feel the way I feel. Say it didn't work out. Say they don't get together in the end, right? But is that experience that you go through, is that going to, how are you going to take that experience? Are you going to allow that to say, this was hard, but it was worth it, and I learned a lot about myself, and this is how I want to continue to live? Or that really sucked, and I'm just going to go back to the way things were because it doesn't hurt as bad.
Right.
And he did kind of go back to the way things were. And a couple, in one of the scenes, he took the other girl home before she got sick. Right? And then the other part is when she found the pictures inside the cigar box, he poured his heart out. He's like, this is what I'm going through. I can't tell you, I can't tell my parents about you because I'm not supposed to be dating you because you're white. I'm supposed to be in this arranged marriage thing. And she didn't understand that, and she put up such a temper tantrum, and y'all know me, I'm always on the guy's side. She's lucky because he didn't have to keep pursuing her. I felt she should have understood his culture.
You really have no empathy for either person. You're like Kirk, him, like he deserves it. She deserves a coma. He deserves to get dumped.
I don't have sympathy for stuff like that because I'm such a person that deals with the reality of things. And when I see people that don't deal with the reality of things, it makes me so upset. Like, this is hard for him. He can't marry you. His family's going to lose his family. And he was stomping and storming, looking for your shoes to walk out on him, instead of saying, like, I am so sorry. I did not know that you were going through that.
I think that's easier for us to say because we got to see that part of his life. He did not show her that part of his life. All she saw was a box of photographs, and she may not be familiar with that culture. And the way he responded was pretty apathetic.
I wanted to yell, stop whining!
No. So you're telling me that but here's the thing. You're acting like every person that has Pakistani blood in them, or that looks Pakistani, is automatically going to be an arranged marriage. Like, when you look at him and the way he talks and he's doing comedy, you're not looking and saying like, oh, his mom's trying to set him up for an arranged marriage. Like, he's very Americanized.
That's not what I'm saying.
How is she supposed to know? How is she supposed to know?
She's supposed to know because she lives on this earth.
No, but he's been lying to her.
He didn't lie. He didn't lie.
Oh, really? Oh, I want you to meet your parents. I'm sorry, that doesn't fit into the 2-day rule.
Well, it wasn't really a lie. He lied to.
Can I meet your parents? And then he definitely lied about that.
But that's how he had to roll because
he doesn't lie. Oh no, but that's how he had to roll. You're just defending him. You're defending him.
He had to roll like that because he had to do that with his parents. She should have been more sympathetic to the fact that he has this issue going on where he can't have a relationship with her because she's white. She's a white woman. She should have known.
No, she
what
shouldn't
she was
have.
getting herself into.
No, she shouldn't have.
Yes, she should have.
No, she
I'm
shouldn't.
sorry. Yes, she
This
should
is
have.
great. I think what we can agree on is a lot of flawed humanity going on in that mess.
Yes.
I think in any relationship, in any time you go through a crisis or anything, you can always look back and go, could I have responded better? Could they have responded better? Sure. Yes to all of it. But we don't, because we're human, we're flawed. Our in the moment instinct is often to respond selfishly, like, I'm hurt. How dare you not understand me? I get it. I understand the response both characters have, I think, in that moment.
What about both your friends?
Both my friends?
Yeah. The responses that we are having with each other.
These two? Yeah. These two friends? Yeah, I get you. I understand your feeling. I think you pointed out before we started recording that, there's so much also that's set up for Kamal about how he has to live in a way because of how his parents and cultural expectation has been placed upon him, but he's trying to forge an identity for himself to figure out where he fits in the world. Yeah, you had a point about how
it became a part of him.
It became a part of him.
Tell stories, not lie.
To be very selective about how much of himself he allows any given person to see, right? So he has one part of himself that's available to his family and another part of himself that's available to Emily. And those are separate parts because he doesn't see any way that those two could actually be one thing. So it's an identity crisis for him too, when it's like, oh, this could actually like somehow all come together.
Thank you so much for joining us in this episode. We hope that you got something out of it. We want you to subscribe to us. We're going to do the subscribe over Trevor's face
No,
again.
we're going to do it over Michael's face.
Over Trevor's
Never on my face again.
With him. We're in disagreement. So over Trevor's face. Give him a filter.
On his face.
We want you to hit the like button. And we want you to put your comments down in the bottom because we like to debate, if you can't tell. Don't y'all want to argue up against me?
Yeah, and it's really easy. Also, if you guys want to see our last video that we did, just click right over here and check it out.
Thank you.
Thanks for watching.
Bye, guys.